Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the J Lounge. Of course, you guys know I am your hostess with the mostest, Miss J, aka Miss Simone Jackson, here to bring you guys another great episode of the J Lounge. Of course, everybody knows the J Lounge is a celebrity-based podcast show where we talk with filmmakers, directors, actors, singers, you name it. As per norm, I am super excited to be introducing my next guest. He is a director, writer, producer, and he is here to talk about his work and also talk about producing a feature film and jazz musical. I really cannot wait for you guys to learn more about him. Please give a super warm welcome to RJ Dawson. Hi, RJ.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I am super excited to be speaking with you, and I'm even more excited for my audience to learn more about you today.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be in a space where we can talk about just being able to do work and also love the podcast, love listening to your previous interviews. So I'm excited to do this. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Well, let's go ahead and get you going here, RJ. I'm going to fire the first question at you. What began your passion for filmmaking?
Oh wow. I guess it is. Yeah, so funny. I guess my funny version of saying it is that I come from a family that love to spin a yarn. I say I come from a family of liars. So I decided to use my powers for good and tell stories to people. But I think one of the things I do really like about film is the ability to be able to connect emotionally through stories, being able to maybe change minds, hearts, and ideas about experiences and do a little bit to connect the world a little bit more. And I don't want to seem to make my job so large, but I do think that the task of imparting ideas and connecting emotions is one of the biggest things that we could do in terms of changing how we live in this world. So I think that's really where the core of my passion comes from for filmmaking.
I love that. And you're right. You're right. Sharing stories, hearing other stories, seeing other
Hmm.
perspectives. Movies does that. Movies opens
Hmm.
up to a whole new perspective and a whole new world that we may not, know about. So you're right.
And
It's
it,
and it's
yeah.
important. And it's an art that, not to sound like a film nerd, but it's the art that we need to continue to fight for. Films are
Mhm.
important, especially seeing films in theater. That is important.
I agree. I'm very big. It's funny that you say that because I mean we're definitely in an age where things are going to streaming and people want to stay home and we're looking at things on our phone and all these things and I have no problem with that. I'm actually an advocate of accessibility in able to get to things. But I will say that the seeing things in theater is the church of this medium. Not to be so grand about it, but being able to sit in a room with a bunch of people and take in these ideas and these stories and these designs and these sounds is an experience within itself. So I do agree the theater is an important part of cinema.
Yes, always. Say it louder for the people in the back just in case they don't understand. Theater is part of cinema.
100%.
Some of my greatest um, cinema experiences happened in the theater, watching Harry Potter, watching
Mm,
Lord of the Rings for the first time. Those are the
hmm.
type of things, as hard as you try, you can't replicate at home. You
You
just can't.
can't.
You
No.
just can't. So, yeah, fight for the theater. Yes, fight for the theater.
Get back in and go start buying those tickets again.
Yes, yes. It's
Uh,
important, David. It's important.
yeah.
All right, going on to the number two question, RJ. Can you name three people who influenced your career and why?
Oh wow. Hmm. So I would say Akira Kurosawa. For those that don't know, he's a prolific Japanese filmmaker. I think the way that he is able to blend cinema and theater and history is something that definitely spoke to me in the early stages of me developing as a filmmaker. Um, I would also say I'm a cheat and I'm gonna name four people.
No, of
Um,
course.
I say Federico Fellini because he's a surrealist filmmaker, an Italian filmmaker, and I think watching him be able to express a lot of emotions that I think that I was feeling as a young filmmaker, as a young storyteller, um, and be able to put that on the screen inspired me because it's like, oh, I don't have to be so straightforward. I don't have to be so by the book. There is abstraction that I can play with. There's surrealism that I can use to tell stories. And then Vittorio De Sica, another Italian filmmaker who was very kind of like on the wave of neo-realism and just the messages that he told in his story, particularly Bicycle Thieves, really impressed itself upon me. So I do find myself kind of in this little middle range of surrealism and then hyper-realism that I try to combine for this style that I think just represents how I flow or feel through the world. And then I did want to kind of cheat and do another filmmaker, which would be Robert Townsend. And I would want to say, you know, someone like us, Spike Lee or something like that. But I do think how Robert Townsend really gave of himself and put together his films at cost to him and put on other black filmmakers and, you know, like told stories that were authentic to him and did his best to authentically just not sell out, but build um build cinema in a way that he could with the resources that he had was a bit of a foundation for black cinema, for black Hollywood, in his modern form. And that doesn't take any credit from anybody else or those who came before him. But in terms of influences in my life that I would say led me to this point, I'd be remiss not to mention Robert Townsend. So those would be my inspirations in the cinema world. Of course, I want to shout out my mom
I love
because
that.
without you know she was definitely skeptical at first when I went into it, but like even with her modern her current like concerns and worries, she does all that she can to be supportive for a career that's not friendly to a lot of black people, particularly black people who don't come from money. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I I'd have to say like thanks, mom, for being there. If we're talking about inspiration, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love your choices, especially Robert Townsend. Of course, if people don't remember, he's the one that directed Baps, Holly Berry.
Uh-huh.
That was a
Hmm.
huge, that's a huge cult classic film. So, um,
Huge.
but
Endless
yeah,
Shuffle.
yep.
That we could go down a list, and people
Oh
don't
yeah,
realize
we
how
can go
much he
down a list.
touched
That's
that
that's for
cinematic
sure.
experience. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's
But absolutely.
the meter man. I mean, we can. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Media. Oh my goodness, me and my friend were just talking about Media Man. Like, yeah, no, this is yeah.
Yes,
He
yes.
is definitely somebody who's in the core of a lot of our childhoods, whether we realize it or not.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Have to definitely agree with that. For sure. All right. Going on to
Hmm.
the next question. Um, oh, I'm so sorry. How do you balance creative vision with budget constraints?
Oh my. Um, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, no, this is so
Um,
true. Sometimes you don't. Yeah.
sometimes you don't, but I think, you know, I'm particularly in a space right now where it's like, oh, you have to figure it out, or you have to figure out what what is truly the core of your vision. Like, what are you really trying to do? What is your thing? Because you can sit there and build an idea and it's like, oh, I have to have this because this is what it's about. It's like I need this shot or I need this these costumes or this, that, and the other. Um, but the reality of it's really about the idea, it's about the theme, it is about the intended impact. And you are put into positions where you have to figure out, am I able to still have that impact? Am I able to still deliver that theme off of $100 budget off of, oh, um, off of maybe, like, oh, I
Mhm.
only have a camera phone right now, or oh, my crew isn't big enough to accomplish this or that. So it's like, what are the ways that you're able to still tell your stories? Um, without the big studio budgets. And again, whether it's self-finance or fundraising or um, asking a lot of favors that you're going to have to pay back with service or with work or whatever the case may be, it is really about just making sure that you're still making things and that is true to yourself.
I agree. I agree. Because sometimes, like you said, sometimes filmmaking and finance are a complicated relationship now.
Oh, yes. It is literally the thing. It's a maker or breaker. If we wanna get, into like the deep nuances of it. It's like I know of people who have had to back out of it because it's like, oh, I can't afford to be a filmmaker. It's true. A lot of us can't afford to be a filmmaker. It is kind
Right,
of a rich kid's game. And a lot of us who do make it and not aren't rich kids, there's a lot of stories that we have to tell, the struggles or the fights or the sacrifices. I can tell you one offhand. In order to make the film that I used to get into AFI, the American Film Institute in Los Angeles, I had to decide between making that film or paying my rent for the year, and I decided to
right,
make that film. So that means I was in my car for a year. I was sleeping on people's couches while going to school and making this film. It's not a, I don't, it's not always an easy road. There's sacrifices that people don't talk about in order to make it, to these little plateaus that sometimes feels like, oh, well, that may not seem huge, but you had to give a lot to get there because of where we come from. So,
right.
yeah,
It's true. It's true. It's not it's not far fetched to say that being a filmmaker, it's not a poor man's game. It's
yeah,
just not.
yeah.
It's a very tough,
Mhm.
especially when you don't have the backing or the financing. It can be extremely difficult. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah. It's like, as you just said, it's a lot of sacrifices. And it can be very difficult, and it's one of the things that's not always talked about when when people interview filmmakers. You know, the biggest thing that hangs over people's head is that finance is getting that back. Is making sure you have it,
Hmm.
because if you don't, then the project is not going to come up as you hope to be. So yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
I
It
think
is. Yeah.
one of the things, again, talking about Robert Townsend, he financed some of his films off of credit cards. He applied for a bunch of credit cards and, racked up debt in order to make them. And I think a lot of people don't talk about the struggles it takes or the struggles they face in this industry, particularly in the Hollywood side of this, because there's definitely independent film. There's ways to make films out of the industry. There's smaller markets to play to. But Hollywood is definitely a peacocking game, to say it respectfully. It's like it is about image. It is about how you look doing it and like who sees you doing it and who can be impressed by what you're presenting. So a lot of people don't want to talk about, oh, I'm struggling to pay rent, or oh, I
Yep.
actually didn't make money off of that shoot, or oh, I am, you know what I mean? What I'm wearing right now is probably my only good outfit, and not to, not to say that like that's still a place that we're existing in, but there's a lot of people in this industry who are putting forward again their best face in order to play the game, but it is tough to do without financial backup or
Yep.
support from either your other job or your partner or your parents or wherever you decide to get money from.
And it's so true. You are so right. Like I said, it's we don't get to see behind the scenes of the so-called glamour. We only
Mm,
see
mhm.
surface level, the red carpets, the the paparazzi, the award show. We
Hmm.
don't see the inner workings of what goes behind the scenes to make these things possible and how much sacrifice you have to do to make these things possible. So, yeah, I completely
Hmm.
agree. Completely agree. RJ, I want to make sure going on to the next question, I want to make sure my audience follows you and your work. Where are you on social media?
Um, so social media wise, Instagram at Dawson RJ is my Instagram, my main Instagram. Of course, I got other accounts. Um, our website, I have a production company with my partner, it's Ego Deaf Films. Um, EgoDeafFilms.com. You can see some of our work there. Um, yeah, and I think that's the forefront of my social media. I'm not on uh Twitter, or what is it, X now? But
It's
I
Twitter.
am on there with the Twitter, yeah. And I am on Threads, and I'm assuming my Threads is the same as my I guess I'm showing off how not social media savvy I am, which I understand is an issue. But my I do have a Threads account as well. Um I am going to be more social media conscious, however, because again, speaking about what part of this job is, it is about showmanship. And if there's a way that you can find a line between showmanship and authenticity, I think that's where I try to exist. Uh, and that is something that I'm going to push for more. Anyway, long answer short, at Dawson RJ on Instagram, EgoDeafFilms.com is our website for the production company.
And of course, I highly encourage my audience. Make sure you follow RJ on Threads, um, Twitter. We do not use X around here. It is Twitter. I'm sorry, I refuse to go down that rabbit hole. It is Twitter. And make sure you follow, give a like, give a shout out, give a support. We want to see more of RJ, especially in 2026. So make sure that we give him some sort of support and just make sure you follow him on social media. Make sure you check out his latest film works. And yeah, like I said, give him a shout out and just give him a follow.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. Going on to the next question. What future projects are you involved with that you can give a dish about to the J Lounge audience?
Well, my biggest project right now is the musical, and I'm actually working on a few musicals right now. Both of them produced by our company Ego Deaf, um, and also working with other producers. But the larger one is my jazz musical that you did mention earlier, called Letters to My Exes. I have a great team around it. We've been working on it for some time, and we're in the process of finalizing financing. We've been working on our music. We've been working on our choreography, and it's a story about a painter who realizes that he's the problem in his relationships, and he goes on a journey trying to figure out how to solve that problem. But in the end, he kind of realizes until he's able to truly and completely love himself, he's not going to be able to effectively or efficiently love anyone else. Um, and that's my large scale musical that I'm working on. Currently attached to lead is Luke James, which I'm really excited about. And my casting director is Robbie Reed at the moment. Very thankful for her coming on board. Our choreographer is Frank Gatson. I'm working with two producers, the Coy brothers. And my composer is, and I know Ambrose is his name. I even told him, I always struggle with pronouncing his last name, but he is a black jazz musician. Akamunisire is how I pronounce it, but I know that I'm saying it wrong. Akinmusire. And I'm really thankful, not to go off on a tangent, but I'm really thankful because a lot of these people came to this project because they got their hands on the script, read it, and connected to it so much that they wanted to be a part of it. And I'm very thankful for that. I think it's a piece that I've just been very vulnerable about. I've always had been an emotional person. I've always wanted to explore this relationship of emotional formation in Black men, Black boys. And I don't feel like there's a lot of stuff that allows Black men to be emotionally in touch with themselves or try to explore some sort of emotional intelligence. And I think this piece was a way for me to explore that again with my influences of surrealism, yet realism, and music. Being able to do a musical where I can explore abstract ideas and uh, build dances that are expressive and communicate emotions between two entities, two people, two hearts, trying to communicate where words have failed them and putting people in scenarios where they get to exercise these ideas of love and see how they actually come to fruition with two people who maybe don't really truly understand what it means to love another person. And part of loving another person is understanding how to love yourself. So,
Hmm.
um, that is my big project right now. Very excited about it, uh, opening up to the universe that this is what is going to be my biggest project that I'm working on this year. Um, I'm also doing another smaller musical, which is essentially about these two people who bump into each other, kind of fall in love, and then the world kind of rushes in and they have to decide, is this love truly what love is supposed to mean to them, or is it time for them to go their separate ways and just go back to the world? So I think I do a lot of pieces about love, whether I realize it or not. I still write my action adventure pieces. I still want to do my
Hmm.
war stories, my historical pieces. But for me, my these projects about uh, Black love probably weigh heaviest on me because I feel like it's something that we don't get to focus on in our cinema on a large stage. And to me, this is something that um, I feel like I can give a perspective on to help people think about it in a way that's not polluted by the the internet wars or the misogynistic views of love or the
Hmm.
biased views of love. I just want something that's kind of like open and vulnerable and heartfelt. And I do think I've been fortunate to have the artists to gather around this project because they see the power of what uh, we're
Yeah,
putting together with this musical. Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it sounds like a lot of exciting projects. Woo! You're keeping
Thank
yourself
you.
busy in the year 2026, are you?
You have to, you have to like because if someone that no one's gonna hand it to you, you gotta go get it yourself, and
This
you
is
gotta make
true.
sure you're juggling a couple of things because there's no telling what'll land. So I
Yeah.
am I am putting myself out there full force. I am again thankful for my collaborators because we cannot do this alone, no matter what it is, whether it's film, whether it's music, whether it's whatever your passion is. A community is important. So that is I am thankful for my community and I have to lead the charge in making sure it happens. So I'm making sure that this year is the year that we make sure it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as those projects come along, definitely keep us here at the J Lounge posted. We want to know more and we want to be able to support you in the way we can.
Thank you so much. I
Of
appreciate
course.
that, and you will hear from me.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, RJ, just a couple more questions for you before we wrap up. Going on to the next question. What goals do you hope to accomplish in your career that you haven't yet?
Um, yeah, definitely the feature film. I've always wanted to be a feature filmmaker, well, I guess there is a list. I do want to be a known feature filmmaker. I am very inspired by what Ryan Coogler has been able to accomplish. Um, and I've also, been inspired by Antoine Fuqua. Again, my pronunciations are going to be all over the place today. I apologize. But there's several Barry Jenkins, a lot of black filmmakers who I'd love to be mentioned in those spaces, like in that list when you're naming off black filmmakers or just filmmakers in general. But I am proud to be a black filmmaker and would love to be among the list of great black filmmakers that are known when you talk about, oh, these are great filmmakers whose works we look to, who have left a mark on our community, on our cinema, and our history. I'd love to write and direct for TV as well. I do love action adventure, historical. There's several pieces like that that I'd love to do. So that's definitely a benchmark of mine. And honestly, I'd like to get a couple of novels and comic books done as well. I've been drawing and telling stories since I was young, and I think I'd love for like people to know that I'm also a novelist. That oh, I also drew this comic book, and I just love to tell stories and be creative. And if I'm able to
Yes.
build a life centered around creating and sharing ideas, that's really my biggest goal in life is to accomplish that. But again, hire me for big studios. I'd love at least one big Marvel check. It can be my goal is actually DC. We say Marvel because we know Marvel's is the big thing, but I would love to be what Ryan Coogler was for Marvel. I'd love that to be that for DC because those are the
Yeah.
kind of books I grew up with. You know what I mean? Like I'd love to do a Superman story, whether they let my Black behind do it, who knows, manifest it. But like a Green Lantern story, uh, that universe to me has better characters, or deeper, the characters more ripe for character study. And I do
Hmm.
think that my work centers on investigating emotions, ideas, and how they manifest in the world. And that would be a better space student for what I like to do. So I would say I'd love to be the Ryan Coogler of DC.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yes, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Ryan Coogler, he has definitely changed the game. He has changed the
yeah,
game. I have
100%.
absolutely no doubt that he's going to win this weekend. Um, I'm,
It'll be a
I'm,
crime if he does not. He's won in our hearts regardless. Like whether they
yes,
give him that trophy or not, we're all going to say that he was the best director because he was this year.
yes, yes. I completely agree. I completely agree. Um, I'm definitely excited for the Oscars. I'll be watching this weekend. I'm pretty sure as everyone else will be too. But yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I definitely love your goals. Yeah, and you definitely are going to get there. You definitely have a clear vision, a clear direction, and you know exactly what type of stories you want to bring to the forefront. So I have no doubt that's going to happen for you.
I appreciate and accept your blessing. Thank you.
Of course, of course. RJ, I really do appreciate our conversation that we had today. You've been an amazing guest. Of course, I want
Thank
to
you.
encourage my audience one more time. Make sure you follow RJ Dawson on all social media platforms, Threads, Instagram, Twitter. Not X, it's Twitter. We don't do X around here. I'm so sorry. We just don't. Make sure you just give a like, give a follow, give us support. We want to see more of his work, especially coming in 2026. He's got a stack full of upcoming projects, so make sure you keep up to date and posted on that. So make sure you just make sure we're just liking and follow and just giving as much support as we can. We just want to see more of his work, especially here in 2026. Like I said, he wants to be was it the MC of the Ryan Coogler director, or was
Ryan
it?
Coogler of DC.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's support him in that endeavor. Let's get into that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I
Of course,
appreciate
of
you.
course. Yes, of course. You guys know I've been your hostess with the mostest, Miss J, aka Miss Simone Jackson. I will be back with another amazing episode of the J Lounge here soon. Of course, you guys do not forget you can watch us on Roku on demand, so make sure you check us out there. Until then, I want to thank everyone listening. I want to thank my amazing guest, and I'll be back soon.